Chapter 519. Slaying Deity Transformations Without Hesitation. What did you say? Lin Fei used illusions to slay Flying Moon True Person and True Person Mark. The news was met with disbelief. Absolutely true. Lin Fei, the martial god, is suspected of possessing a mind control technique similar to Shen's, capable of compelling deity transformation powerhouses to commit suicide. Once they do, no number of avatars can save them. Lin Fei's own strength is already immensely formidable with his saber world, and now with illusions, he's even more challenging than the former Yuanxia True Person. It seems no one but a true monarch could possibly stand against Lin Fei now. Slaying deity transformation cultivators, it's terrifying. It looks like the world's origin of the heavenly principle realm will truly belong to Lin Fei alone. The news of Lin Fei slaying Flying Moon True Person and True Person Moke spread rapidly. Many deity transformation powerhouses in the heavenly principle realm tightened up upon hearing this. No longer did they speak arrogantly, instead, they became cautious in their words and actions. In fact, some deity transformations even began to withdraw their avatars slowly. They were not afraid of Lin Fei before because they knew he couldn't slay them. But now, Lin Fei could not only kill them but also silently compel them to commit suicide. This method was terrifying to even contemplate. Having numerous avatars was no longer a surefire way to stay alive. No one wanted to offend a martial god capable of making deity transformations truly perish. Thus, when Lin Fei moved to his next target, the third deity transformation True Person, he found their residence deserted. Gone. Lin Fei was slightly surprised. Although he had intentionally slowed down after slaying Flying Moon True Person, wanting the news to spread and the deity transformation powerhouses to leave voluntarily, his method had proven effective. A large number of deity transformation powerhouses had indeed left. Boon. Just then, a rift appeared in the void of the heavenly principle realm. The heavenly principle realm was collapsing, and strands of the world's origin began to emerge. However, by this time, nearly all deity transformations had already left the realm. At the entrance between the divine realm and the heavenly principle realm, many gazed at the collapse and the emerging world's origin, their eyes filled with greed and regret. After all, some had spent thousands of years establishing their power in the heavenly principle realm, and now, due to Lin Fei's threat, they were forced to retreat. The sight of the world's origin appearing only deepened their unwillingness to leave. Yet, none dared to step back into the heavenly principle realm. The caution in their eyes was palpable, deterred by the examples of True Person Moke and Flying Moon True Person. Who would dare risk returning to the heavenly principle realm? Life, after all, was more precious than the world's origin. In an instant, as the world collapsed, a white radiance covered 80% of the heavenly principle realm. That was Lin Fei's saber world. People watched closely, curious about how Lin Fei would harvest the world's origin. Within the saber world, Lin Fei looked up at the void, observing the disintegration of the realm and the seeping origin from every corner. Saber world, collect. Lin Fei commanded, and his saber world began to absorb the world's origin. Every bit within its reach was drawn into Lin Fei's control. Even the remaining 20% of the realm wasn't neglected. Wherever the world's origin was sparse or vanishing, Lin Fei adjusted the saber world to ensure it absorbed enough essence. Time passed, days went by. The collapse of a minor world wasn't an overnight event, it required a lengthy duration. After a few days, feeling that most of the world's origin of the heavenly principle realm was harvested, Lin Fei retracted his saber world. Continuing further might have accelerated the realm's collapse, potentially trapping him. The complete collapse of a minor world would unleash a terrifying destructive force, capable of instantaneously annihilating martial gods and deity transformations. Typically, when harvesting a world's origin, one only takes about 80 to 90% before hastily departing. Lin Fei followed this prudence. Leave, Lin Fei declared, taking a step forward. Swoosh! In an instant, he had left the heavenly principle realm and stood outside the passage between the two realms. Swish! Suddenly, countless gazes fell upon him. Lin Fei was well accustomed to such intense scrutiny. After all, it wasn't his first time being the center of attention. Just like when he left the true spirit realm, he was the focus of numerous onlookers. Of course, Lin Fei understood their interest in him stemmed from the world's origin he had just collected. As long as no one spoke up or tried to stop him, he wouldn't bother with them. However, this time seemed different. "Martial God Lin, please wait," a voice called out just as Lin Fei prepared to leave. "Huh?" Lin Fei glanced around and spotted a deity transformation cultivator, merely a combat avatar. But Lin Fei didn't even bother to listen. "Saber World." Instantly, his Saber World swept out, enveloping the deity transformation powerhouse. "Martial God Lin, stop." The deity transformation figure was taken aback and tried to say something more, but it was futile. Lin Fei, without a word, had already activated the Saber World, bringing Shen's illusion into play. 10 Directions Heavenly Array. The Grand Array activated, and the illusion descended. The deity transformation was instantly pulled into the illusion and struggled only briefly before succumbing completely. "You are deeply sinful and unworthy to live," Lin Fei's calm voice resounded, piercing into the ears of the deity transformation. The figure seemed to struggle as if trying to wake from the illusion, but to no avail. Soon, all struggles ceased. Bang! The deity transformation self-destructed. At the same time, his other avatars in the vicinity also exploded in unison. He was dead. A formidable deity transformation, not even given the chance to speak, died for merely obstructing Lin Fei's path. His fall was absolute. Witnessing this, countless powerhouses in the void fell silent. They knew of Lin Fei's ferocity and his decisive nature in killing, but they hadn't anticipated his ruthlessness to such an extent. Was this a case of killing upon the slightest disagreement? More crucially, he had the power to slay a deity transformation so swiftly, a feat not even a true monarch would dare claim to achieve in such a short span. In fact, it was something a true monarch genuinely couldn't accomplish. But Lin Fei had done it. Rumors had already circulated about Lin Fei slaying True Person Moke and Flying Moon True Person, attributed to his ability to control the minds of others and his terrifying illusory techniques. Some were skeptical at first, but now any doubts had vanished. This was more than mere illusion, it was almost divine in execution, surpassing Shen and even exceeding the Heart Demon Martial God. And crucially, Lin Fei's own strength was immense. Who would dare to make a move against such a top-tier martial god capable of slaying deity transformations? Who would dare to obstruct him? Anyone else? Lin Fei's gaze swept across the crowd, his tone as cold as eternal ice, slowly asking the question. Chapter 520. A true monarch aims to kill Lin Fei. In the void of the divine realm, at least 100 martial gods and deity transformation powerhouses, along with their combat avatars, densely surrounded the area, making it impregnable. Yet, amidst this congregation of formidable beings, an eerie silence prevailed. Every head was bowed, and no one dared to speak. The atmosphere was heavy with tension. No one answered Lin Fei. No one even dared to meet his gaze directly. Wherever Lin Fei looked, heads were lowered in submission. In this moment, the hearts of many powerful beings trembled with fear. Lin Fei, with his singular might, had subdued numerous divine-level powerhouses, preventing them from even raising their heads. Even initial evil True Person, at his peak with tens of thousands of combat avatars, had never commanded such or as Lin Fei did at this moment. "If there are no objections, then I shall take my leave," Lin Fei declared. Swoosh! His figure transformed into a streak of light and swiftly vanished into the void. With Lin Fei's departure, the crowd finally breathed a sigh of relief. Yet, the thought of Lin Fei's ability to slay a deity transformation with a mere thought hung over them like a sword, creating an oppressive and uncomfortable atmosphere. Unbelievable! Just as the rumors suggested, martial god Lin has mastered the art of illusion and can even control the minds of his opponents. Now, even deity transformation powerhouses face a threat to their lives when confronting martial god Lin. Lin Fei might not just have mastered illusion. It could be related to Shen. Perhaps Lin Fei slew Shen and acquired some of its illusionary powers. Regardless of how Lin Fei obtained his illusionary abilities, the problem now is that he has the strength to slay deity transformations. He might well be the #1 martial god in the divine realm. Indeed, Lin Fei stands unparalleled in the divine realm, unmatched in both the past and likely the future, agreed the others, and these affirmations came predominantly from deity transformation cultivators. In truth, their praises for Lin Fei weren't genuine. Nor were they meant to elevate his fame. Instead, their intentions were sinister. Proclaiming Lin Fei as the #1 martial god in the divine realm was a strategy, for in the world of martial arts, there is no first in literature and no second in martial prowess. Ultimately, some martial gods, perhaps caring for such empty honors, might challenge Lin Fei. Or those harboring dissatisfaction with Lin Fei might see this as an opportunity. This was sufficient. After all, Lin Fei's existence made all deity transformations uneasy. Even true monarchs couldn't easily slay deity transformations at will. Why should they now feel threatened by Lin Fei? Of course, Shen once possessed such abilities, and many were aware of it. However, Shen was not as ostentatious, and it had weaknesses that could be exploited. But did Lin Fei have any weaknesses? Many pondered their own schemes in light of this development. Back in Ancient City, Lin Fei returned and immediately entered a secluded chamber. The 5 Saber World secret realms have made my Saber World stronger. And now I have so much of the world's origin. Let's see how far these can enhance the particle worlds. Lin Fei began to utilize these precious world origins. No matter how valuable, they must be put to use. Moreover, they needed to be applied to the edge of his saber. The world origin Lin Fei had obtained this time was almost equivalent to what he had garnered in the True Spirit realm. After all, the heavenly principle realm was not small, and he had harvested its entire world origin. This was the advantage of dominance and strength. With his formidable power, Lin Fei could indeed do as he pleased. He was aware that many deity transformation powerhouses were likely plotting against him in secret, even preparing to confront him. Yet, Lin Fei was unafraid. As long as he continued to grow stronger, these adversaries could only harbor thoughts in their minds and would not dare to act. As days passed, the world origin significantly enhanced the particles throughout Lin Fei's body. The enhancement wasn't as significant as the last time. Previously, it had increased tenfold, but this time, it was merely a doubling. However, even a twofold increase on top of his existing strength was incredibly formidable. Opening his eyes, Lin Fei realized the world origin was now entirely depleted. Particles have doubled in number, Lin Fei reflected. The Saber World secret realms have increased by 5. Including the previously enhanced 600 particle worlds. This increase in strength seemed no less significant than the last one. However, Lin Fei was acutely aware that he was about to face his 5th Thunder Tribulation, and each tribulation was more formidable than the last. While crossing the tribulation would be easy for him, Lin Fei aimed to gain as much understanding of the world's laws as possible, which required even greater strength. This time, the power of the particle worlds has greatly surged, he pondered. I now possess 1,900 particle worlds. 600 of these were created from particles that had previously increased tenfold. Now, all particles have doubled from their original count. Lin Fei calculated, if I face the 5th Thunder Tribulation now, withstanding 5 or possibly 6 heavenly thunders should be feasible. The 7th Thunder, however, remains uncertain until I confront it directly. Lin Fei was clear in his mind. While there was a good chance of withstanding up to 6 heavenly thunders, he was not sure about the 7th. The exact nature and power of the 7th Thunder were unknown to him. But, in his view, surviving 6 thunders to gain 6 world laws was an acceptable outcome. At least, with 6 laws, it would be easier for him to master a complete Tao in the future and achieve the status of a martial ancestor. Lin Fei didn't aim for the extreme of pursuing 10 or 11 laws. It was not worth the immense effort and time required to slowly gather world origin and explore Saber World secret realms. Gaining sufficient world laws was enough. With these thoughts, Lin Fei left his residence. As Lin Fei was preparing to head to the location for his tribulation, he was suddenly contacted by someone from the Great Dream City. Someone from the Great Dream City is looking for me. Curious, Lin Fei immediately made his way there. May I ask if you are Martial God Lin? Standing before Lin Fei were 2 martial gods from the Great Dream sect. Martial God Lin, Void Transformation True Monarch intends to kill you. His opening statement was startling. A true monarch wants to kill me. Lin Fei's eyes flashed with surprise. How do you know this, and why are you telling me? The martial god smiled slightly. Please do not misunderstand, Martial God Lin. I am Zhui Yuan, a disciple serving beside our sect's elder. The elder sent me to warn you. As a top-tier martial god of our Great Dream sect, it's unacceptable for you to be ambushed unknowingly. If it were just a martial god level confrontation, that would be one thing, but the Elder won't ignore a threat from a true monarch level. However, the divine realm is vast, and even with our Elder's divine abilities, it's impossible to cover everything. Therefore, as long as you stay within the ancient covenant's sphere of influence, our Elder can ensure your safety. Lin Fei respectfully replied, "Thank the Elder for his concern. It's no trouble. The Elder has high hopes for you and hopes to see you achieve true monarch status soon." After delivering his message, Zhui Yuan left. Swish! Lin Fei opened his eyes, returning his consciousness from the Great Dream City. A true monarch wants to kill me. He frowned deeply. This matter required thorough investigation, and he needed to find out more about this as Zhui Yuan. Chapter 521. Lin Fei faces tribulation again. The #1 martial god gains renown. Since joining the Great Dream sect, Lin Fei had gained a deeper understanding of the sect. The Great Dream sect didn't seem like a typical sect or power. It was quite loose, without many binding rules. However, the Great Dream ancestor was fiercely protective of the sect members. If there was a fair fight or a sparring match between equals, there would be no issue. But should anyone attempt to bully those weaker than themselves, the Great Dream ancestor would undoubtedly intervene. Lin Fei was under no illusions about his own status. He was well aware of his reputation. Capable of slaying deity transformations and top-tier martial gods, and having dominated the heavenly principal realm, he was no ordinary martial god. It was natural for the Great Dream ancestor to take an interest in him. Now, with him having sent Zhui Yuan to warn Lin Fei about a true monarch intending to kill him, it seemed a reasonable precaution. Thus, Lin Fei conducted his own investigation and found that Zhui Yuan was truly one of the Great Dream ancestor's close associates. Moreover, Lin Fei obtained a portrait of Zhui Yuan which matched the martial god he had met. This confirmed that it was indeed Zhui Yuan who had approached him. If the ancestor has issued a warning, it's likely true, Lin Fei thought. But who could have alerted a true monarch? And which true monarch is it that wants to kill me? Lin Fei frowned. This was not an easy matter to investigate, especially since he didn't have a strong base or network in the divine realm. Dealing with intelligence and information gathering was indeed not Lin Fei's forte. However, he could surmise that his actions in the true spirit realm and heavenly principle realm, particularly the battles for world origin, had likely offended many. The involvement of a true monarch in his affairs seemed inevitable given the number of enemies he had made. He wasn't surprised by this development, he had anticipated such a situation. Still, with the protection of the Great Dream ancestor, Lin Fei reassured himself, within the bounds of the ancient covenant, I should be safe. True monarchs can traverse voids and could directly attack an ancient city, but they haven't. This indicates they do respect, perhaps even fear, the Great Dream sect and the ancestor. Feeling more secure, Lin Fei knew he had a solid safety net as long as he remained within the ancient covenant. The might of a martial ancestor was formidable, few would dare provoke such a bane. Even a true monarch would be relentlessly pursued and eliminated by a martial ancestor if targeted. A martial ancestor, mastering a complete Tao, could instantaneously annihilate all avatars. Thus, while billions of avatars of a deity transformation might trouble a true monarch, they posed no challenge to a martial ancestor. But could Lin Fei remain confined to the ancient covenant indefinitely? His goal was to become a martial ancestor, and staying in one place wouldn't help him achieve that. My strength is still insufficient, Lin Fei mused. If I was strong enough, what could a true monarch possibly do to me? I must cross the fifth thunder tribulation soon. Only by overcoming the tribulation can my strength leap qualitatively. I wonder how close I will be to breaking through the void after surviving 5 thunder tribulations. Muttering to himself, a determined glint shone in Lin Fei's eyes. Martial gods contending with true monarchs is not unheard of in history, but such instances are rare and the individuals involved are invariably exceptional talents. Lin Fei, aspiring to stand against true monarchs as a martial god, and perhaps even more than just contend, was already nearing the pinnacle of martial god and deity transformation capabilities. The extent of his strength after his next tribulation was unknown even to him. Regardless, the first step is to undergo the tribulation, Lin Fei decided, taking a deep breath before stepping towards the side of his tribulation. In ancient city, the place for tribulation was not bustling with activity. Despite many martial gods in the city, the tribulation site was seldom crowded. It was too challenging for most. Lin Fei's previous tribulation had drawn a large crowd, inspiring many martial gods to undertake their own tribulations, slightly increasing the number of onlookers. As Lin Fei appeared at the tribulation site again, he immediately attracted everyone's attention. It's Lin Fei, the martial god from the Great Dream sect. Martial god Lin is going to face tribulation again. I heard he slew 2 deity transformation powerhouses in the heavenly principal realm and dominated its world origin. Is it true? Of course, it's true. The story has spread across the entire divine realm. They say he's even more formidable than initial evil true person. Just a glance from him makes countless deity transformations and martial gods bow their heads. Have you not heard? Some people are now calling martial god Lin the #1 martial god in the divine realm. The #1 martial god. That's a big claim. I think martial god Lin deserves the title. Which other martial god has achieved what he has? He subdued many deity transformations in the divine realm, something not even a true monarch can easily do. It's incredible that martial god Lin is from our ancient covenant. There's nothing incredible about it. Rumor has it that martial god Lin emerged from the ancient continent, the ancestral place of our ancient covenant, which once produced a Tao integration, true immortal and a martial ancestor. Are the ancient continent really that miraculous? The murmurs and conversations buzzed with excitement and awe, reflecting Lin Fei's growing reputation and the prestige he had brought to the ancient covenant. Amidst the bustling discussions and the intense gaze of many, Lin Fei calmly walked into the designated area for his tribulation. His presence as a member of the ancient covenant in ancient city, where he was seen as one of their own, contrasted sharply with the hostile environments he had faced when competing for world origin. Here, he was among allies rather than adversaries. Martial god Lin, are you here to undergo another tribulation? Yes, is there a suitable spot? Of course, please follow me. The martial gods managing the tribulation site were well acquainted with Lin Fei by now. They led him to an optimal spot for his tribulation. Although the specifics of the site were of little concern to Lin Fei, as he could undergo the tribulation anywhere, the location helped to contain the tribulation's impact, preventing any harm to the rest of the ancient city. Lin Fei didn't rush into his tribulation. Instead, he closed his eyes, taking his time to adjust his mental and physical state. The upcoming Fifth Thunder tribulation was of paramount importance to him. He felt an instinctual anticipation for a significant transformation should he succeed in this tribulation, though he couldn't predict its exact nature. He was determined to face the 5th, 6th, and possibly even 7th Heavenly Thunder in the best possible condition. However, not all onlookers harbored good intentions. Amidst the crowd, some eyes watched Lin Fei's figure with ill will, closely observing his every move. As Lin Fei prepared himself for the tribulation, a deity transformation cultivator among the onlookers quietly disseminated the news. Spread the word. Lin Fei is undergoing his 5th tribulation. Ancient city, with its diverse population, was not comprised solely of ancient covenant members. Thus, the news of Lin Fei's tribulation quickly spread throughout the ancient covenant and even across the divine realm. Many factions began to focus their attention on Lin Fei, the #1 martial god. Regardless of the intentions of those spreading the news, the title of the divine realm's #1 martial god was gradually becoming synonymous with Lin Fei. Let's begin, Lin Fei finally declared after an indeterminate period of preparation. His eyes suddenly snapped open, a divine light shimmering within them. He gazed calmly at the void above, ready to face the formidable challenge of his 5th Thunder tribulation, a pivotal moment that could potentially elevate his strength to unprecedented levels. The eyes of many in the divine realm were on him, watching to see if he would indeed live up to his burgeoning reputation. Chapter 522. Unprecedented, the 7th Heavenly Thunder. Boom. The void thundered, echoing through the space. In his consciousness, Lin Fei perceived the vast sea of origin. His mind delved into this primordial essence, forcibly seizing a law from it. Instantly, a heavenly thunder struck down. Lin Fei looked up at the descending thunder with a calm demeanor. Surprisingly, he didn't deploy his saber world or particle worlds. He simply stood there, allowing the thunder to strike him directly. Bang! The thunder entered his body and then it vanished without a trace. Lin Fei remained unscathed. Those watching Lin Fei's tribulation were astounded. Even though they knew Lin Fei could withstand a first thunder, this was the first thunder of his fifth tribulation. To endure it directly with his physical body and remain completely unharmed was beyond their expectations. Was this really a tribulation? Or did it seem more like a leisurely experience for him? Many had harbored skepticism towards Lin Fei's title as the #1 martial god. However, witnessing this scene silenced their doubts. After all, the true measure of strength in the divine realm was one's ability to endure tribulations. Lin Fei's tribulation appeared as effortless as eating or drinking. With such prowess, he could possibly pass through 9 tribulations in one go. Even the prospect of directly breaking through to shatter the void seemed within his reach. But Lin Fei chose not to pursue that path. Simply enduring one thunder in each of the 9 tribulations was not his goal, for it would never lead to becoming a martial ancestor. Once more, Lin Fei declared indifferently. Instantly, his consciousness seized a second law. The second heavenly thunderbolt descended in response, evidently much more formidable than the first. The white electric light, fleeting as a glint, vanished into Lin Fei's body in a blink. And then, there was no more. Lin Fei remained immobile. His physical body merely quivered slightly before the electric light faded. Thus, he withstood the second thunderbolt. Swiftly following was the third. This third thunderbolt was markedly stronger, its might suffused with a hint of destructive aura. Yet, Lin Fei remained unyielding, not resorting to the saber world or even contemplating the use of the particle world. Lin Fei wished to test the limits of his corporeal particles. After all, the origin of so many worlds should not be squandered in vain. Hence, the third thunderbolt struck as expected, roaring into Lin Fei's flesh. This time, Lin Fei could not remain indifferent. The particles of his body began to rapidly annihilate. 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%. Lin Fei endured without tapping into the power of the particle world. In the end, only 50% of his body's particles were annihilated before they completely vanished. Lin Fei had withstood the third thunderbolt without even invoking the particle world. Merely half of his body's particles were annihilated. For a martial god, what was the annihilation of 50% of particles? It was insignificant. He could swiftly recover. Witnessing the scene, even the most obtuse observer now understood the formidable strength of Lin Fei's physical body. Incredible, truly incredible, they say Lin Fei is the foremost martial god. Even without having seen him in action, with such a physical body, claiming him to be the paramount martial god is unquestionable. Facing the 3 thunderbolts of the 5th heavenly tribulation, doing nothing but relying on his physical body to enduring the bombardment of 3 thunderbolts is utterly astounding. How many more thunderbolts can Lin Fei withstand this time? 6? Or 7? In an instant, all knew that Lin Fei's tribulation this time was destined for a grand purpose, far from a mere rite of passage. Lin Fei had swiftly transcended the 3 heavenly thunders, seemingly provoking their wrath. Thus, the 4th thunder descended, a flash of purple lightning, arriving in the blink of an eye. This time, Lin Fei did not dare to be overconfident, properly invoking the power of Saber World. With a resonant hum, Saber World materialized, shielding him from above. Facing the 4th strike of the purple thunder, Lin Fei was somewhat prepared. The might of this purple lightning was 10-fold stronger than the previous ones, a force so powerful it could shake the heavens and the earth. However, having fused 5 realms of Saber World, and with the addition of 6 new world laws after the last Thunder Tribulation, his Saber World had transformed, far surpassing its former self. As the purple thunder struck, Lin Fei's Saber World trembled violently, flickers of electric light dancing within. Yet, ultimately, the purple thunder vanished without breaching the Saber World. Boom! Before Lin Fei could recover, the 5th thunder arrived, a blood-red lightning, akin to deep crimson blood, instantly freezing his Saber World. Crack, crack. Lin Fei's Saber World, defenseless, began to fracture under the freeze, allowing the blood-red thunder to penetrate his physical body. However, Lin Fei refrained from using the particle world, waiting calmly instead. He could distinctly feel that, after shattering the Saber World, the blood-red thunder had lost much of its strength, posing little threat to his physical form. Indeed, only 30% of Lin Fei's bodily particles were annihilated before the blood-red thunder dissipated. This was the formidable fifth thunder. Yet, Lin Fei remained vigilant, his gaze fixed upon the sky. Whoosh! The sixth thunderbolt descended, a bolt of black lightning, utterly dark, seemingly heart-stopping at a mere glance. This black thunder, born for destruction, appeared capable of annihilating everything in its path. Thud! In just an instant, Lin Fei's saber world was obliterated, torn asunder by the black thunder. Then, the black lightning struck Lin Fei's physical body. Particle world. Lin Fei held back no longer. His 1,900 particle worlds erupted violently. Boom! The two forces collided fiercely. Upon impact, Lin Fei immediately sensed the black lightning weakening. His particle world's power, with an overwhelming force, mercilessly engulfed the black lightning. Then, within Lin Fei's body, only the power of the particle world remained, his physical form unscathed, and not even 10% of his particles were harmed. Outside the tribulation site, everyone fell silent. The sixth thunder traversed in less than a quarter of an hour. Such strength! Indeed, seizing 6 laws in less than a quarter of an hour. Is this truly the fifth thunder tribulation? Forget the fifth, could you withstand 6 thunders in even the first tribulation, and so effortlessly? Lin Fei is undoubtedly the foremost martial god of the divine realm. Who could possibly be stronger than martial god Lin? Crossing tribulations as easily as dining and drinking, only martial god Lin can achieve such a feat. Martial god Lin, now facing the seventh thunder. Success would mean seizing 7 laws at once. 7 laws, incredible. In one tribulation, he seizes laws equivalent to what other martial gods might in 7. Everyone waited in silence. Would Lin Fei depart from the tribulation ground or continue to face the tribulation, beckoning the seventh thunder? No one knew. At that moment, both inside and outside the tribulation site, a profound stillness reigned, a stillness so deep, one could hear a pin drop. Come forth, seventh thunder. Lin Fei's voice, imbued with a trace of determination and confidence, did not disappoint the onlookers. He plunged his consciousness once more into the sea of origin. Boom! Instantly, the seventh thunderbolt descended. Chapter 523. The fifth thunder tribulation conquered, the emergence of a Tao integration true immortal. Lin Fei had often wondered what the seventh thunder would look like. He had numerous speculations, but when he actually witnessed the seventh thunder, Lin Fei still showed a hint of astonishment. The seventh thunder was still white, indistinguishable in color from the first 3 thunders. Just a white thunder, yet its magnitude was incomparable. As it struck down, it seemed as though the heavens were collapsing, creating a colossal hole in the sky. The thunder was like a pillar, hundreds of meters in diameter. Such an immense thunder, its terror was unimaginable. Not just Lin Fei, but it seemed even the entire ancient city would be obliterated by this single thunder. Retreat quickly, leave at once. Too terrifying, if we don't leave now, it'll be too late. Such a fearsome thunder, unheard of even in the 9th thunder tribulation, right? If Lin Fei cannot withstand it, the entire ancient city will be leveled. How can there be such a terrifying thunder? Could the might of this thunder be comparable to a strike from a true monarch? Lin Fei is surely doomed this time. Such a thunder is not something a martial god can withstand. No matter what tricks he has left, this time, he'll likely be turned to ashes by the thunder. In an instant, countless people scattered, fleeing in panic, wanting only to distance themselves from the tribulation site. As for the possibility of ancient city being razed, they naturally weren't concerned. Ancient city, after all, was protected by the martial ancestor, Tao integration true immortals, and even supreme beings. Who could destroy ancient city? Should Lin Fei truly fail to withstand this thunder, leading to the spread of its destructive force, it was certain that a martial ancestor or a Tao integration true immortal would intervene to contain the aftermath. They would not allow the thunder's power to wreak havoc unchecked. However, for Lin Fei, who was undergoing the tribulation, the situation seemed dire. At this moment, the vicinity of the tribulation site had been deserted, eerily empty. Lin Fei, faintly perceiving several powerful gazes fixed upon him, sensed their presence. These gazes were devoid of sadness or joy, simply resting upon him, making him acutely aware of their scrutiny. These were certainly not true monarchs, perhaps they were martial ancestors or even Tao integration true immortals. Regardless of who watched, it meant little to Lin Fei at this juncture. No one could assist him now. The Seventh Thunder. Though it's beyond my expectations, do you think this alone can annihilate me? Lin Fei's eyes widened, a fierce gleam flashing through them. Boom. Instantly, his 1,900 particle worlds erupted. Simultaneously, the saber world fully contracted, forming a small protective shield enveloping his entire body. This allowed him to concentrate the power of the saber world, maximizing its might. Moreover, the combined strength of the 1,900 particle worlds seemed to reach its zenith, causing even the void to appear as if it were collapsing, with cracks emerging one after another. Ultimately, the colossal thunderbolt struck down with tremendous force, engulfing both Lin Fei and the tribulation ground completely. An unimaginable power furiously annihilated the particles of Lin Fei's physical body, like an overwhelming, unstoppable force, possessing the power to crush everything in its path. Yet, within this terrifying force, Lin Fei's particle worlds, all 1,900 of them, forcefully carved through this overwhelming power, even creating a safe zone. His physical body's particles, though nearly instantly losing 80% of their substance, the remaining 20% were incredibly resilient. Within them lay the essence of the 1,900 particle worlds, unyielding to the thunder's force, enduring its relentless assault. And the power kept flowing inexhaustibly. Finally, in an instant, the thunder disappeared. The tribulation ground had turned into a scorched wasteland, all formations destroyed. However, throughout this ordeal, neither the martial ancestors nor the Tao integration true immortals intervened. Many found this strange. In such a scenario, why didn't the martial ancestors intervene? Such force, such thunder, threatened to destroy the entire ancient city. Of course, that was under the premise that Lin Fei could not withstand it. The martial ancestors would surely have intervened then. But now, their lack of action, did it mean that Lin Fei had withstood the onslaught? Despite this being almost inconceivable, too astonishing to believe, even bordering on the absurd, the magnitude of that thunder, its overwhelming might, could a martial god really withstand it? But when the dust settled and the thunder vanished, everyone's gaze returned to the tribulation site. There, they saw a figure, standing quietly on the ground, motionless. Everyone was visibly shaken as if they couldn't believe their eyes. That familiar figure had reappeared. Lin Fei had not perished. Swish! Lin Fei opened his eyes, glancing around. Everything had disappeared, all wrought by his own hands. He furrowed his brow slightly and took a few steps forward, seemingly wanting to say something. But there was no one around, everyone was too afraid to approach, staring at Lin Fei with eyes full of shock. He really didn't die, Lin Fei succeeded. The Seventh Thunder, with unimaginable might, and a martial god actually withstood it. That was comparable to a strike from a true monarch, absolutely comparable. Incredible, truly incredible. How did Lin Fei achieve this? The crowd was abuzz with discussions, but no one dared to come forward. Lin Fei didn't check his own condition. He swept his gaze over the crowd and spoke calmly, who is in charge of this tribulation site? Whoosh! A martial god flew over. Lin of fellow Daoist Lin, I am in charge here. The tribulation site was destroyed, but it was because of me. Whatever is needed for the reconstruction, come to me. Lin Fei was not one to shirk responsibility. He had come here for his tribulation, and the result was the site's destruction, so naturally, he would compensate. The person in charge was about to speak when suddenly, a powerful voice echoed from the void, the tribulation site is a property of the ancient covenant. It is freely open to all martial gods. Since it's destroyed, it's because our formations were not strong enough. You need not compensate. Besides, repairing it is an easy task. After this powerful voice finished speaking, a mysterious force appeared in the void, rippling like water waves, spreading outwards in concentric circles. Buzz. A miracle unfolded. The tribulation site, which had been leveled to the ground, began to visibly reconstruct itself at a remarkable speed. Formations re-emerged one by one, and even the buildings, astonishingly, reappeared as if by magic. It was as though a mysterious force had rewound time, restoring the site to its former state. But it wasn't just a simple restoration. In the end, a vast formation materialized, emanating a formidable power. Next time, even if the thunder's might is 100 times stronger, it will not be able to raise this place to the ground again. All is restored to its original state. Lin Fei, right. Great Dream Ancestor is indeed fortunate in his Tao. After this voice finished speaking, it vanished. All around, everyone excitedly performed a grand bow, loudly proclaiming, "Farewell, true immortal." Lin Fei's heart stirred at this revelation. The one who had just intervened was none other than a Tao integration true immortal. Chapter 524. Saber World Empowerment, Shattering the Void. True immortal. I wonder which true immortal it was. Lin Fei's eyes shimmered with a unique light. The method used by the mysterious true immortal just now was nothing short of miraculous, beyond Lin Fei's understanding. He could surmise, however, that it likely involved the Tao and laws. Yet, his realm was far inferior to that of a Tao integration true immortal, so naturally, he couldn't comprehend it fully. A Tao integration true immortal, an entity on par with a martial ancestor, embodied the epitome of greatness. True immortals, indestructible, whose lifespans matched the heavens themselves. Such beings truly stood at the pinnacle of the divine realm, overlooking all creation. Martial God Lin, the true immortal, has already given instructions. You need not compensate for the tribulation sight. In fact, the true immortal has reinforced the sight, so if you come for tribulation again, such an incident will not recur. This martial god seemed somewhat embarrassed. The tribulation site had been in good condition, but Lin Fei's tribulation had completely destroyed it, even necessitating the intervention of a lofty Tao integration true immortal. That was Grand Unity true immortal from Unified Tao. Lin Fei nodded in acknowledgement and gestured respectfully towards the direction of the Unified Tao, my thanks to the true immortal. Since Lin Fei was not required to compensate for the destruction of the tribulation site, he naturally welcomed a relief from this potential burden. Without much regard for the shocked gazes of the others, he promptly left the tribulation area. The news of Lin Fei withstanding 7 heavenly thunders in his tribulation quickly spread like wildfire throughout the divine realm. The 7th thunder was particularly terrifying, almost without precedent in historical records. Yet now, there was a record. The 7th thunder, massive and destructive like a colossal pillar of light, was not something a martial god was expected to withstand. But Lin Fei had done just that. Speculations about the extent of Lin Fei's current realm and strength were rampant, with numerous theories circulating. Regardless of what others speculated, Lin Fei returned to his residence and entered a secret chamber. His expression grew solemn. "There seems to be a problem with my body," he murmured to himself. After passing the 5th thunder tribulation and enduring the 7th thunder, Lin Fei felt something was amiss with his body. It was strange. Every move he made felt like he was bound by invisible shackles, as if something was restricting him, causing discomfort. Yet, he had successfully passed the 5th thunder tribulation. System, Lin Fei immediately called up the system to check his status. Host, Lin Fei. Martial Cultivation Realm, Martial God, 5th Thunder Tribulation. Great Dream Heart Sutra, 2nd level, progress 1%. 4 symbols and 5 elements creation technique, 1,900 particle worlds. Lin Fei scrutinized his realm, indeed confirming his advancement to the 5th Thunder Tribulation. His particle worlds remained at 1,900, for he had not yet utilized the 7 newly acquired world laws to create additional particle worlds. Once he did, he would at 700 more, bringing the total to 2,600 particle worlds. However, Lin Fei didn't immediately set out to create these new particle worlds. He was concerned about the peculiar condition of his body. Without understanding the nature of this issue, he refrained from rashly expanding his particle worlds. In the secrecy of his chamber, Lin Fei extended his hand, gently waving it. He distinctly felt as if something in the void was binding him, hindrances coming from all directions, invisible to the naked eye. Let's create a particle world and see, Lin Fei thought, unable to decipher the puzzle. He decided to test by creating new particle worlds, using one of the world laws to create 100 new ones. Instantly, his particle worlds increased to 2,000. With this addition, Lin Fei's sensation of obstruction became clearer and more distinct. Continue, he decided, proceeding to create more particle worlds. 2,100, 2,200, 2,300, 2,400. When Lin Fei exhausted the 7 world laws and his particle worlds reached 2,600, he stopped. He could now clearly perceive what was constraining him, the void itself, or more precisely, space. The void of the divine realm was binding the current Lin Fei. The massive increase in his particle worlds, coupled with his formidable physical strength, caused a rapid expansion of his power. Having undergone only the fifth thunder tribulation, he had already reached the limit attainable by a martial god. Lin Fei concluded that to advance further, he must break through the constraints of the void, shatter the void itself. Next tribulation will be about shattering the void, Lin Fei contemplated with growing anticipation. Reaching the stage of shattering the void typically means striving to comprehend the Tao, eventually understanding and mastering a complete path. Relying solely on self-enlightenment and personal laws for this is extremely challenging. However, if I continue to overcome thunder tribulations and plunder enough laws, I can form a complete Tao with these numerous laws, thereby achieving the status of a martial ancestor. Lin Fei's eyes sparkled with determination. Although no martial god undergoing thunder tribulation had ever reached the level of shattering the void, the lack of precedence didn't mean it was impossible. Lin Fei had already proven with his own strength that if one's power is immense enough, it can lead to shattering the void. And shattering the void is simply a manifestation of reaching a certain level of overwhelming power. For instance, if a cultivator only seizes one law in each tribulation, it's nearly impossible to reach the stage of shattering the void after 9 tribulations. The reason is simply insufficient strength. If one's power is great enough, one can reach the stage of shattering the void, regardless of whether they are in the midst of tribulation or not. Boon. Lin Fei's 2,600 particle worlds erupted with force. A roaring sound emanated from within him, and the surrounding void instantly collapsed, only to quickly recover. Behind Lin Fei, a giant black hole-like formation appeared, not an actual black hole, but a manifestation of his power reaching the critical point of shattering the void. If I combine this with the power of Saber World, Lin Fei pondered, his eyes lighting up. Could I shatter the void right now? The true shattering of the void means a single strike capable of breaking open the void, crushing it, then entering and traveling through it, all the while withstanding the immense pressure of the void on the physical body. Let's try it. Lin Fei's thoughts moved with purpose. Saber World. In an instant, he unleashed the Saber World. Simultaneously, all the particle worlds within his body, coupled with the strength of his physical form, erupted under the enhancement of the Saber World. Buzz. At this moment, Lin Fei seemed to break through a critical point, stepping into a completely new realm. Before him, the fabric of reality, like a mirror, shattered instantaneously. Then, everything in front of him changed. Lin Fei saw numerous dark passageways appearing right in front of him, seemingly accessible at any moment. Void passages, he murmured softly. For those who become a void transformation true monarchs, comprehending the secrets of the void is necessary to discover these void passages. However, for those who shatter the void, understanding these secrets is not required. By directly breaking the void, they too can perceive these passageways. The methods differ, but the destination is the same. Both achieve the same effect, spatial traversal. Indeed, the strength of my physical body has already reached the critical point for shattering the void, Lin Fei mused. Now, just a little more power is needed to reach the stage of shattering the void. The enhancement from the Saber World has indeed enabled me to take this step. Shattering the void, he whispered, feeling a surge of excitement. He had indeed achieved it. Although it required the augmentation of the Saber World, the ability to do so still equated to shattering the void. However, the concept of void passages intrigued Lin Fei. Taking a deep breath, he prepared himself. Whoosh! With one step, Lin Fei entered one of the void passages, his figure vanishing into the void.